Hello and welcome to Active Bryant Fitness Systems. I'm Scott Bryant, your host, and this video is all about, is the Paul C.H.E.K Institute a cult? Now, if you look up the word occult, it means a religious figure. Now, Paul is not into a certain religion. Yes, he studied OSHO, who was a massive guru in the mid-70s that had a Rolls Royce, 52 Rolls Royces, which his followers gave him, and he read over 35,000 books. Now, Paul's read about 5,000 books, and he set up the C.H.E.K Institute as a system of healing your body, of getting you healthy, of getting you to feel fucking amazing. And this is what I don't get. When people call it a cult, they call it a cult because they don't really understand what it's all about. To study, to become a C.H.E.K practitioner level 5 like myself, will take you 5 to 6 years and probably cost you in the region of 25 to 35,000 pounds, okay? But what you will get in return is peak optimum health, a feeling of great well-being, a really open mind to read everything and anything to do with health, vitality and lifestyle. So I've read over 1,000 books now, and Paul C.H.E.K taught me how to speed read so I can get through a book really, really quickly, especially if I'm excited about reading that book. Does that make sense? So if he was running a cult, one, he would not let you leave and make it very impossible for you to leave and for you to go your own way. But he wants you to go your own way. He wants you to do your own thing. He wants you to make up your business how you want to do it from the studying or the stuff that you've learnt from him. Does that make sense? Now, Paul C.H.E.K was a yogi or learning meditation techniques, I think about at the age of about 9 or 11. So to be able to learn them techniques so young, it means that his mind is so much more open than the average person. Now, I can remember being with Paul and I was thinking in my head, I don't know why I was thinking this, but I was like, he's not very tanned for somebody who lives in California. And he's not as hairy as me because I'm an alpha male and hair grows out of everywhere on me, you know. Out of my ears, out of my bum, out of my toes, out of the bottom of my feet, out of the middle of my hands if I masturbate too much. No, only joking. That was a joke. And he turned round, and I hadn't said this to him, I thought this. He said to me, I'm Cherokee Indian, I've got very light skin, I know exactly how much sun my skin can take, and I'm very lightly haired. Even though I said that in my head, I didn't say it to him. So this shows you that, you know, Paul C.H.E.K is very, very out there, very, very enlightened. And when I booked him for one-to-one healing, he put a breeze block on my chest and blew through me, blew through my body. So I knew back in 2003, after seeing him lecture, that he was way ahead of his time and he can read people just like that. And he teaches us as level 5s or level 4s or level 3s how to sort of like do that. And as you grow and learn more and more, you learn how to do that anyway. I can see somebody with winging scapulars. I can see somebody that's in that posture. I can see somebody with a forward head straight away. I can see somebody when they've got one glute that's working and one glute that's not. I can see somebody when their hip is too high and it's too low one side. I can see if somebody's got a bigger calf one side than the other. Does that make sense? And I learnt this through doing lots and lots of assessments and obviously studying with the Institute. So if you go to bed on time and you go to sleep within your circadian rhythm pattern, your body gets healthier. If you drink your body weight in ounces of water a day, your body gets healthier. If you eat organic food, your body gets healthier. If you meditate, your brain gets healthier and you get stronger mentally. If you exercise 3 to 4 days a week, your body gets stronger. So how can it be a cult if it just gives you health and abundance? And if you look at the real cults that really suppress people, they hold them in there with weapons and they really try to brainwash them to a certain level that they lose all confidence with what they can do. Whereas with the Institute, it's not about losing your confidence and becoming dogmatic in your beliefs. It's all about being free, being open and reading whatever you want and using the system in whichever way that you find it works for you and your clients. So how can it be a cult? So I know he's brought out the Spirit Gym, and the Spirit Gym is very in-depth and very deep, a year's commitment in which to learn, you know, Paul's system. And what I can say, hand on heart, with truth and honesty, I qualified in 2013. I'm still using it today with my clients, still getting huge success with my clients as long as they're willing to put the time, the energy, and obviously the money into getting the result that they're looking for, okay? So I would say it's definitely not a cult, but if you want to get fit, healthier, stronger, leaner, pain-free, do things that other people are not doing in their sport, then you need to see, you know, a level 3 to a level 5 practitioner to help you realise that. Does that make sense? And I do a lot of spiritual work myself, but I'm not in a cult. Does that make sense? I am a shaman practitioner where I hug trees, I talk to plants. My nan used to talk to plants and she owned some nurseries, and she said, if you talk to plants, they like it and they grow better. And I've seen that for proof. The same as if, I remember I was with a client at their house in Southwark, and the neighbours' plants were looking, the neighbours' plants were looking all droopy. So I got a rattle and I rattled over the plant, and because the rattle's got crystals, it's got energy, and you know, they use crystals for laser surgery and stuff like that, I knew that it had a power. So when I'd done like for 5 minutes, the plant stood up, and the neighbour went, he's a witch, he's a witch, why has that happened? And I explained it to the woman, but she didn't. She was so ignorant that she couldn't get it in her head or understand. Does that make sense? So I would say the C.H.E.K Institute is definitely not a cult. Look up the word cult. Paul is into investigating religion. Yes, he meditates. Yes, he says thank you. Yes, he believes in positivity. He believes in praying and meditating and all these types of things. But this is what all the religions say around the world. Does that make sense? But the difference is, he's not telling you to do any of that whatsoever. It's entirely up to you. It's your own free will. I've read 1,000 books because it's my own free will. I studied with the Institute for 6 years through my own free will. Does that make sense? I wasn't brainwashed whatsoever, because I'm a very, very headstrong person. If there's something I don't want to do, I don't effing do it. Does that make sense? But what I will say, it changed my health, it changed my outlook, it changed the way that I personal train my clients, it changed the way that I run my business, all for the better. All for the better. Does that make sense? Like, I wrote my own book and I never thought I could do that. I never thought I could get to level 5 and do a 10,000 word thesis. I'm like, what is a thesis? Never done that before in my life. Does that make sense? So if you want to feel empowered and you want to work around with like-minded people, like the mentors that mentor the Checkies coming up, the new guys, they're highly, highly qualified, and they've had one-to-one time with Paul, and they've gone through the whole coaching program the same as me, and they've done lots and lots of extra stuff. And Paul wouldn't let them, or Gavin Jenkins of Czech Europe would never let anybody be a mentor to you if they were going to cheat, steal, rob you, or get you fixed into a cult. Does that make sense? So I've heard this many, many times, and it does annoy me a little bit. But I think it's because Paul is so different. Paul is so different to anybody that you'd ever meet. And that is because of his upbringing, two, he was doing yogic techniques or breathing techniques at a very young age. And he's highly, highly intelligent. And if you ever get to sit in a lecture with him in California, it will blow your mind. And every time I went to a lecture where Paul was lecturing to us, it was just amazing, the stuff that he knew, that I can't even speak to somebody with a doctor's degree or a PhD that is at Paul's level. Does that make sense? And this is because the philosophy of reading, 5,000 books, that's a lot of knowledge in your head. But the difference is with Paul is that he's not used the knowledge just to stick it in his head. He uses it all practically and has seen what works and what doesn't work. And that's why I studied Kinesiology Institute, because he had, 30 years more experience than me of working with extreme people that have had big accidents or top athletes like Chuck Norris, like Oscar de la Hoya, like Kobe Bryant, like Tony Robbins, and all these huge names that Paul has worked with, and got them all to recover and got them back to their sport. The same as Danny Way, the same as Lord Hamilton and his wife. So these are real huge names in the fitness or martial arts or the sport world that nobody else could fix. And because he thought outside the box, and with the studying that you do, you learn how to think outside the box. And you learn how to go, right, if this is science, where's this science come from? Who's paid for the science? And is it a really good scientific research? And a lot of people now quote science to me all the time. And I'm going, well, where did it come from? How many people was in it? Like a doctor in the UK that recently passed away, God rest his soul. He said that stretching didn't work. But what they did, they done stretching on 2 different days and didn't see an improvement in flexibility. And they done it just before the workout. So they didn't do it over a period of 8 to 12 weeks on 400 people to see whether people were hypermobile, people that were chronically tight like myself, or people that are in between. Does that make sense? So I do this assessment called a Rockabodo assessment, in which to find out how much stretching my client needs. So if you're hypermobile and you're stretching all the time, you're just making your body more hypermobile, which is causing the lower back pain. But if you're on a 0 and you're not stretching at all, then when you start to stretch, the body releases, the body lets go. So then the back pain disappears, the shoulder pain goes away. Or if you've got middle back pain and I've released your diaphragm, you start to expand more when you're breathing. Does that make sense? The body lengthens and shortens through breath. So without Paul doing his in-depth studying and working on hundreds of or thousands of clients, trying all these things out and finding what works and what doesn't work, then he puts it into the program which he gives to the student. I know if I drink loads of water, I feel more flexible, my brain is better, anxiety goes away if I get it, and I just feel much, much better. and the power of water. What is his name? Dr. Emoto looked at water under a microscope, and when you say to water, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, it goes all black. But when you go, I love you, I love you, I love you, it turns into a crystal. So if the whole body is 75 or 85% water, and the bigger percentage of that is in your muscle and in your brain, can you imagine that if you're saying to yourself, I hate myself, I hate myself, I don't love myself, and I'm not going to pray, and I'm not going to believe in anything, how that's affecting your molecular structure? Does that make sense? And this is why in the program, you're learning how to meditate, you're learning how to believe in yourself, you're learning how to do flexibility assessments and stuff like that. And you're teaching your client and yourself to drink more water, to eat organic food. If organic food is 80% more nutritional dense than processed food or just normal farmed food, why would you not eat something that was 80% more better for you? If you're into health and you want to keep yourself living long, it's not about being in a cult. It's about getting great health and feeling great. So then when somebody stands in your auric field next to you, they go, oh, wow, I feel quite alive. Oh, I feel my energy's really improving. Oh, and I'm thinking in a different way. Because they're standing in your auric field where you're not trashed, tired, in adrenal fatigue, full of fungus, full of parasites, and feeling like crap every day, and telling yourself what a cunt you are. Does that make sense? So this is why normal people may think it's a cult, because Paul talks about God and soul and religion, but he doesn't really talk about religion that much. He just says, you know, it's dogmatic, and some of the things that they want you to do is a bit extreme. You know, if you're a man full of testosterone and the vicar says to you, you can only sleep with one woman, this is going against a man's hormones. Does that make sense? And if you study the book Sex at Dawn, women in the 1800s and earlier or later were more promiscuous. It was religion that stopped them being promiscuous. Does that make sense? And they believe it's a sin when it isn't. Does that make sense? And really, if we're the highest on the chain, then the food chain, can you see why it can be detrimental not to have regular partners or regular sex? And a lot of people that you talk to that have been with the same person for 30 odd years, they're constantly arguing, they're constantly fighting, they're not making love to each other anymore, but they're doing it because the society says that they need to do it, or they want to keep up with the Joneses, instead of going, I want to be free, I want to be different. And that's why, in some respects, I believe that swinging is a good idea, you know, as long as you stay sexual disease free and you're both open to it, because then that way you can experiment with each other's fantasies and not be locked in a way of thinking that we've only got to shag each other for the next 30 years, but I don't love her anymore, she's put on weight, he's put on weight, or I just don't fancy him like I used to. And then not have any sex, and then you wonder why illness comes into the body. You know, this Matt Manchia thing I don't really believe in, where they talk about only masturbate once a month. Once a month. Once a month. At least 6 times a day. No, I'm joking. But once a month. Can you imagine saying to your wife or your young girlfriend that might be in her 20s or in her dirty 30s, as they call it, you go, oh, we're going to have sex once a month. Straight away, your wife or girlfriend is going to think, you don't love me. You're sleeping with somebody else. Because it's just not normal. It's just not natural to live like that. Does that make sense? Yeah, obviously, if you're a man, if you're a boxer, martial artist, or you're getting ready for a fight or a competition, if you let semen out, it does lower the testosterone. That's been proven. So you just make sure that when you're making love to your wife, your girlfriend, or whatever, whenever you're doing it, you make sure that you do it a couple of days before the fight or the competition, so you don't deplete yourself of testosterone. But if men have got 10 times more testosterone than women, this will show you why women are a bit more loyal to their partner than what the man may be. And remember that the human genome hasn't changed since we've been alive, in 200,000 years, say. So if the human genome hasn't changed, and I was caveman, and she was cavewoman, and I was the hunter-gatherer, and she was the person that was at home, can you see where this could be causing damage through family after family after family, changing the roles where they're both at work, they don't have dinner with their family anymore, so they don't really connect in a loving way as a family because they're all at work and coming home at all different times, and you can see how the relationship would break up. Does that make sense? So I hope this puts your mind to rest. Me being a level 5 master, that it is definitely not a cult. You can pull away at any time. You don't have to believe in Paul's beliefs. Paul would like it more. The more honest you are, the more he loves it. And I'm always brutally honest with my clients, with my friends, with my family. And if they don't like it, they get the birdie. But that's just me. That's just my personality. Does that make sense? So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, please follow, please share, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I look forward to uploading the next video. You can watch another video that might come up here, and that's where I'm talking about my journey with the C.H.E.K Institute over a 6-year period when I first heard about Paul and the experience I got from it. Okay, thanks very much. Bye-bye. Peace out, love and hugs and everything else. Bye.